Now let us understand a little more about interfaces. Basically, interfaces are data flows between two IT systems or two IT applications. It could be two or more than two. And in case there is only a single ERP or a single application, it is likely that there are no interfaces in that company. So, assuming there are more than one application and there is a data flow between those applications, we can expect to see certain data being pushed into one application from another application. If you remember the example that we have seen about SAP and Paymaster having an interface, basically the data from Paymaster, which is the payroll data, is being pushed into SAP so that accounting entries for the payroll can happen. So that is a simple example of an interface. So there are different types of interfaces. One is the automated interface. In this type of interface, there is no manual intervention. Assuming the two systems are able to talk to each other seamlessly without human intervention. That is the example of an automated interface. Another example could be a manual interface. In this case, data is manually downloaded from one system and uploaded into another system. So we need to understand the data flows between the various systems and applications. And similar to the case of batch jobs, wherever data flows are happening, it could happen through either a batch job, or it could be through a manual, or it could be through some kind of a automated routine or scripts which are executed at a certain point in time. So whenever the interfaces operate, how is it managed that the errors or the failures in the interface are identified and detected in a timely manner? Again, similar to the other activities we have seen, restricted access is a common theme across any of the operational activities. The people who are having access to automated or the manual interfaces should be only the authorized people. The IT team typically should ensure that error handling is monitored on a periodic basis. Let us look at disaster recovery and understand a little more about it. Basically, disaster recovery is a part of the larger business continuity of the organization. So basically, every company or organization should have a plan in the event a disaster strikes. There could be different types of disasters. There could be natural calamities like floods, water, and fire. There could be man-made disasters such as strikes or a financial meltdown or any other, or a systems outage, or even a cyber attack could be example of a disaster. Now, in the event a disaster happens, how should the company continue or go on with the business? That is something to be considered by management as a part of the larger IT governance framework. Every company should have a business continuity plan in place. This plan usually has the various risks that can occur, because of which disaster can happen, and what is the impact when such an event happens, and what are the precautions or measures that the company will take to continue or move on with business. For example, if it is a bank, the bank cannot say because today there is a disaster, we cannot provide services. So it is not possible like that. So the bank has to have an alternate mechanism of providing services. Similarly, in the case of manufacturing company, the production cannot be stopped for a long duration. So what are the alternate ways in which production or dispatches need to be made? So these are some small examples of why a company should have a business continuity plan in place. Now coming to disaster recovery. Disaster recovery is an integral part of the business continuity planning, because part of the business or a large part of the business, especially when ERP is implemented, involves the use of IT systems and applications. Now, in case a disaster involves the stoppage of IT and ERP application, how would the company recover from such a disaster, and how IT systems will be put back into place for a normal operation to resume? That recovery from a disaster and to get back to normalcy is the process of planning a disaster recovery. It is also called a disaster recovery plan. So it is a action which will be taken subsequent to the business continuity plan. Now let us look at help desk. The typical help desk operations involve problem management. What is problem management? Users who are using the IT systems and includes the ERP and applications may have certain doubts, queries, or issues that they need to highlight. So there is a team within the IT organization which takes all the queries and questions and the problems which are faced by a user and resolves those problems. One example could be a printer is not working. Another example is the network is not working or the system is slow. These are day-to-day examples of problems which the users face. So there should be a controlled process where the company records all the issues and problems and puts them into a kind of a tracker for them to later look at and monitor the status. Incident management is any event or an adverse event which happens with respect to system. One small example could be a loss of files in one system or virus attack in a particular system, not throughout the company, in which case it could be a bigger incident. So small incidents or large incidents, all the incidents need to be recorded and addressed in a timely manner. When problems and incidents are highlighted, they have to be prioritized. Not all problems or incidents will be high priority. The help desk needs to prioritize, or the management in the IT needs to prioritize which incidents are more important and which are less important. And there should be a process of tracking all the incidents and problems which are recorded by the users. Now, as you can see, this is more of an operational activity by nature, and as auditors of financial statement, we need to be careful not to get too much into the operations of help desk. However, we need to understand at a high level how the company is managing all the errors and issues. For example, a user could have issue in processing a business transaction, in which case it could have an impact on the posting of transactions, and there it could be relevant for a financial audit. If there is a transaction which is not being able to post it because of a system problem, that needs to be identified by management, tracked, and closed in a timely manner. Otherwise, what could happen? The transaction may not even come into the system, and that could impact the account balances. So help desks are typically managed through service level agreements, while in many companies these are formally defined agreements between the IT organization and the rest of the business. In smaller companies, it could be more informal in nature. So basically, we need to understand what kind of service level agreements, that is the turnaround time in which the IT is able to react, respond, and resolve the issues, the problems, and the incidents which are flagged by the users. The overall objective of the help desk is to make sure that systems are up and running and available for business to operate business transactions. And that is why, even though they don't have a direct implication on the processing of transactions and the financial statements, we need to understand the overall process at large. Now let us look at some of the risks and controls that are relevant to the IT operations. So here we have given a list of risks and controls which mitigate those risks for IT operations. Let us look at each activity wise what can go wrong. So here we have seen there is a batch scheduling and processing, which is an activity within the IT operation. Now, what can go wrong within the batch scheduling and processing? We have discussed that in batch scheduling and processing, the risk could be unauthorized changes made to batch jobs. That is, users who are not authorized are able to make changes to batch jobs. The other risk is failure in execution of a batch job. So this is when a batch job is supposed to be run and it is run with, or it has failed, in which case the transaction within the batch job have not executed. So for these two risks, we can see there are two controls which are put into place by management. What are they? To address the risk of unauthorized changes which are made to batch jobs, the control is that any addition, change and deletion to batch jobs are documented and authorized. So here we see there is a process of authorizing any type of a change to a batch job, and we need to understand, evaluate and validate the control which is mentioned here. For the risk of failures occurring in a batch job, the control that can be implemented or that is implemented in this example is that all batch jobs are monitored for successful completion. Any errors or incomplete jobs are identified and rectified in a timely manner. So here we see that the company has a process of monitoring for the successful completion of batch jobs. And in case there are any errors or failures in the job, the same are rectified in a timely manner. So with these two controls, we can be assured that the risks that are mentioned here will be adequately covered. In real-time processing, for example, one risk could be unauthorized changes are made to the configuration of real-time processing components. Now, what are real-time processing components? These could include your middlewares, or it could involve your network equipment also, and it could involve any other equipment which is used in the processing of this transaction. It could be a hard disk or a server. So similarly, there could be any software or hardware change which may happen, and that could impact the operation or the processing of transaction in real time. Now, unauthorized changes to such configuration in real-time components will be mitigated by implementing a control whereby procedure for making changes to the configuration of real-time processing components is put into place. So there is a process for managing the changes. This is likely similar to the change management process, and where we have seen the IT infrastructure components need to be changed, or the process for making changes to IT infrastructure need to be in a controlled manner. With respect to backup and recovery, some of the risks could be loss of critical data due to data corruption and system failures. So this is a key risk. And what is the control which exists? The management has put a backup policy into place, and it has been implemented and monitored for compliance. We need to look at how it is monitored for compliance, who is monitoring it, and what are the results. Loss of data due to fire and theft, which are environmental and physical controls. So for mitigating that risk of loss of data due to fire and theft, the control is on-site and off-site backups are maintained in a secure manner. On-site is the same site in which the servers or the IT infrastructure is residing, typically a data center. Off-site backup is a remote location in which a copy of the backup is stored. In case something happens to the main site, then the backup which is residing at the off-site can be used for restoration of data which has been lost. So this has to be maintained securely. What is the meaning of securely here? It means that there should be a fireproof safe or a lock and key or both that should be put into place to store the backups. Lock and key would prevent the data from being stolen, and a fireproof safe will protect the backup from any environmental hazards, including fire. Another risk with respect to backups is backup is incomplete or corruption of media happens during the backup. So the company may have taken a backup or taking backup on a daily basis and keeping the backup at a remote site. However, in case the media gets corrupted for whatever reason, how is it possible to recover the data? It may not be possible. So for this, there is a control which says that backup recovery is periodically tested. So there is a periodic testing of the backups which have been taken to make sure or ensure that the backups are working when required. So the backups will be in a position to be used and they will be able to recover the lost data in case there is a loss of data. So that is the control which exists to protect against the risk of incomplete or corruption of backup media. Backup media here could be a tape, disc, or even a DVD or a CD. Let us look at the other activity of interfaces. So in this example, the risk that is given is data transfer between systems is incomplete or inaccurate. So we know that interfaces is the data flow between two or more systems. So when data flows from one system to another, how is the completeness and accuracy ensured? It is possible that there may be data flow which is incomplete or even inaccurate. So what is the control for that? So here the control is incorrect. The actual control should be something like this. To mitigate the risk of data transfer between systems, that it is incomplete or inaccurate, the control could be that there is a process to reconcile the data between systems to ensure consistency of data, consistency of data transfer. So this is an example of a control which helps in preventing the risk that data transfer between systems is incomplete or inaccurate. Somebody is doing a reconciliation of the data which is between the two systems to make sure that the data is consistent. For example, somebody could take the data from the payroll system, which is Paymaster, and also the accounting data with respect to the payroll processing from the SAP system and compare the two and make sure that the numbers add up. So that way the company can ensure that the data transfer has been consistent and complete. Now let us look at the last activity, which is disaster recovery. What could go wrong? The data recovery or the disaster recovery plan may be obsolete. That is a risk. So the control for that is plans for business continuity is kept up to date, and similarly disaster recovery plans are updated once in a year and tested maybe twice in a year. This is specific to one company and also the generally accepted practice. However, depending on the nature and size of the company, the criticality of the IT systems, this frequency could be different. So as we see, this is a relevant control for ensuring the risk that data recovery plan is obsolete. Basically, the business continuity plan is kept up to date, and data recovery plan, being a part of the business continuity plan, is updated once in a year and tested 2 times in a year. So this is an example of how to look at the risks and controls within the IT operations. Like I have said before, in the other domains, these are examples of some risks which are possible. There could be other risks depending on the company and the type of ERP and the nature of their business. We need to look at all these factors specific to the company and in relevance to the audit of our financial statements.